It takes a lot of reading, a lot of studying, a lot of information. That's why I am very keen on getting accurate and precise information so that whenever I say anything publicly, it is from the best available source that we can find. We don't want to give speculation on this thing, that, and the next thing. Let me tell you why. Because Bahamians right now, things are so hot in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, knowing the general election is expected, and someone is saying there may be an early election. I don't know. But then the thing is that those who've had the opportunity to run this country could have had a fixed date for a general election. It went by for 52 years and nothing happened. But when people are in opposition, they talk about fixed dates. When they're in government, they don't talk about fixed dates. So what are you saying, Bahamians? What are the people saying you send there? The electorate sent them there to govern the place. So we got 52 years to talk about fixed dates, and not a fixed date has been set yet. It is better for everyone in the country to know when a general election will be held. But it is in the hands of one particular personality. And that particular personality can make a very close decision, particularly only known to himself and maybe to a few others. And then you find you have either an early election, like what happened just prior to the last election. And so the thing is that the particular personality who had the cards in his hand decided to call an early election. And I think he was about 8 or 9 months out. Had that much time, you know what you could do with 8 to 9 months, baby? In a term that the people gave you to deal with national issues, to deal with constituency issues, and you just decided you saw what you call headwinds, whatever that's supposed to mean. And you saw these headwinds coming, and then you decided you're going to call a general election. I don't know. See, the cabinet's supposed to make collective decisions, but apparently it seems to me that doesn't happen all the time. Because people are saying it's the prime minister who makes the decision. But the Constitution said the cabinet has something, overall direction, overall control of the government. But even though that is written in the Constitution, if someone being head of the cabinet makes an important decision like that without the others having any input into it, you know what that calls for. But we are not sure. We're only hearing these things because we don't get information on how they do it in the cabinet. We don't know for sure. But we are hearing that the cabinet's supposed to be collective. But the Constitution says the cabinet has what? Overall direction, 1, overall control, 2, 3 of the government. Now, how they do it? Which means a minister, let me just add this while it's in my head. A minister appointed to the cabinet and is appointed to a particular ministry has what? Overall direction, overall control of that particular ministry. That's constitutional. But in harsh reality, it doesn't happen, baby. The ministers do not exercise that overall direction and overall control in those ministries. People say that's the permanent secretary. The permanent secretary runs the cabinet, runs the ministry. That is utter foolishness and nonsense. Nowhere in the Constitution it says that. But they've been doing this thing for 52 years and been doing it wrong from day one and still doing it wrong from right up to now. When you check the office of a permanent secretary, the Constitution tells you what the permanent secretary is supposed to be doing. Permanent secretary is a supervisor. I don't know, supervisor having no overall direction, overall control. When did that ever come about? Not in the Constitution. But they say the minister makes policy decisions. What kind of crap is that? But this is the kind of thinking that's been going on for 52 long years, Bahamians. Probably even before then. But let's come from independence, 52 years. They're coming up on July. The permanent secretary running a ministry, that is not constitutional. Never was and never will be, unless the Constitution is changed. So when something goes wrong in a ministry, they point the finger. You see that fellow there, he's the director. He did that. You see that fellow over there or that lady over there, that's the permanent secretary, they're responsible. But when something comes up that appears to be positive, suddenly the minister springs out to the front, run ahead of everybody, and gravitate toward what they consider to be good. But when something goes wrong in that ministry, you don't see them dash out and say, yes, I'm responsible for that error. I'm responsible for that mistake. Not them. But what does the Constitution say? Overall direction, overall control of the ministry. But in actual practice, it doesn't happen, Bahamians. So we got to fix that. That's been going on for 52 years. Ministers not taking responsibility for their ministries, whether it be positive or negative. It begins with the minister, ends with the minister. But somebody always is left out there to get the blame. Like sometimes you hear the Minister for National Security. When some police officers came to him, he said, no, that's for the commissioner to deal with. And then other times he jumped straight in the forefront and talking this, talking that, talking the next thing. And I'm not saying he's wrong for doing it now. But it says the minister has overall direction, overall control of the ministry. But he should be out in the forefront, whether it's good or bad, positive or negative. Things go wrong in that ministry, the minister right there say, yes, I'm responsible for that. Things go good in the ministry, yes, I'm responsible for that. And you have these underlings that, supposed to be performing. Now, of course, at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they have what is called the Department of Foreign Affairs. And I heard the Minister of National Security talking about some people suggesting that there be a new department for fire services. Bahamians, we got too many boards, too many committees, too many authorities. Come on, Bahamians, how much more of this crap we going to take? It's eating up the public's money. Now, I'm not saying he necessarily agreed with it because he commented on it. What it would take. Do you know what it takes? You create all these boards and these committees and then direct and then permanent. Oh, come on, man. Giving them their own budget, all that kind of thing. Bahamians, how much more are we going to take? Now, I'm not saying he said he agreed with it now. He was just commenting on it. But there are some who are pushing it, say, well, I think the leader of the opposition is saying that he will bring that about if he's given the authority to run the country. Why does he have to be? He could do that right now. He could bring a bill right in the House right now. What the heck is he talking about? He is a member of the House of Assembly. He was a former minister in the government under Mr. Minister. What the heck is he talking about? He could have done it then. See, this is why, Bahamians, you got to go back and look at what these people were doing when they were in government. They had control of the government departments for several times, and so did the one who is there now. But you all got such short memories, you just forget so quickly. That's why I don't go beyond the two last elections. Hopefully you'll remember those two. You saw the widespread sweep of the electorate. When Mr. Minnis was the minister, Dr. Minnis, let me give him his true name, Dr. Minnis, Dr. Hubert Minnis. And you had also one called Hubert Ingram. When Dr. Minnis was in charge, he was called the competent authority. That's what he called himself. 35 seats out of 39. 35 seats, Bahamians. He had all kind of authority in his hand to solve every single problem that confront the country. Every single problem. No barriers whatsoever. Couldn't say he didn't have enough votes, didn't have enough authority to do this, to do that, to do the next thing. See, the Bahamian electorate has been this way. They give these people all kind of power and authority. Big sweep. Give them fellas 35 seats. Them other fellas had 4. None could say. Now, this one got 32. Mr. Davis has 32 seats. And them other fellas got 7. You see how widespread this is, Bahamian? This is the electorate now doing this thing. One party, 35. The next one after last election, 32. So what are we saying? Is the electorate saying they're not satisfied with both of them? And you hear people call this show and call other shows, and they complain about the way the government is functioning. And they should complain if they're dissatisfied. What I do is I analyze what they do. I go straight to the Constitution. I go straight to the crappy laws that they pass. And I ask you, did you see that? Did you read that? Do you understand that? Then when I ask 2 questions, one about the constituency, one about the government, then you got some people think you're trying to attack either the representative of a particular constituency or the government of the day. You're not attacking nobody. You just state the facts as they are. And I work very hard to stay constitutionally sound. That's the best way to go. Because you got people running things who don't even know the Constitution. I don't know why the electorate is doing that. Why are you sending people to the House of Assembly, putting people in the cabinet now who never, if you were to put the Constitution in front of them to save their life, they'll die right on the spot. But yet you say you're giving them power to run things. So what do you expect to get? You expect to get anything of value when you're giving power to people who don't even understand the very supreme law of this land. We've taken it for granted, baby. We've taken the Supreme Court so lightly. I heard some comments on another show, man, they're talking all kind of foolishness. And the Constitution clearly outlines how you are to deal with citizenship. But people got all kind of funny ideas in their head. Oh, we should do it this way, we should do it that way. Oh, well, give them a chance. Give what? Anyhow, let me stop right there. I almost said something I shouldn't say. I've been suffering for 52 years in job of give them a chance. Give me a break, man. Who gave me a chance? But them around here creating all kind of havoc for us who are genuine Bahamians. Huh? Some people use the word organic Bahamians, meaning original Bahamians. Why should I give them a chance? If you here illegally, you get out of this place, man. I couldn't give a rat foot how long you were here. You know illegal people supposed to be in here? You sneak in here and talk about you as a citizen. Give me a break, man. Is that how we're going to build the Bahamas? But a bunch of people coming in here and having children, then you could talk about what is our responsibility. And they sneak in all around, violating the law, polluting our waters, burning down our forests, doing all kind of crappy things. And then you could talk about give them a break. No, you don't give them no break. You don't give them any status in the country. Absolutely nothing. They deserve nothing, Bahamians. You got to take a harsh stand against that kind of wickedness. I got to see if I could get the director for Bahamas there because we got to talk to the man. I believe he got a call on, call on the line. Call your live one here. Go ahead, please.
Hey, we say, Professor.
Why, I feel angry today.
Why you
People
know,
talking
boy,
foolishness and nonsense.
Yeah, boy, Professor. I went down my national insurance this morning, early this morning.
How early
I
you
was
went?
sitting up.
How early you went?
I ran like I was around at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Something. Everything went a little smooth down that side.
What you mean
You
now?
know,
No, hold on. Stop right there. Stop right there. What you mean a little smooth now? What you mean by that?
so I mean, my paperwork and everything. This in Jamaica Road.
Carmichael Road?
Yeah, this Jamaica Road, national insurance.
Oh, okay. All right. So
But,
so now you say, explain to me what happened then.
So yeah, I trying to get where he's talking about these people in our country and getting the same voice for we getting.
Yes, okay.
So I sitting down on the side there. One gentleman sat on the side of me. He thought he started speaking Creole. I tell him I don't speak Creole.
Uh-huh.
You know. So he come in there. I tell him over to the receptionist. He asks her. He come for national insurance card. He speak a little bit of thing. It's a national insurance card. So I mean, how come big and bold they can come walk up in national insurance and ask for national insurance card? What you think about that?
I think that is utter foolishness and nonsense.
Can't speak English. I talk a bit of English. And that's
He's supposed to be here. What the heck is he doing here? All we have is a bunch of illegal aliens in the land. And they talk about this lucrative route they got in Haiti. I got to call that man and ask him to come on the show to explain the crap, what's going on there. We don't have a stable government in Haiti.
No.
Haiti doesn't have a stable government. Do we understand the seriousness of that? So who's making the decisions? A bunch of rebels?
That's what it is. And the United States government, all that, they ain't the one moving in. You won't see no other rest of the countries really like that going into there and trying to capture the place.
So how we see? I gotta understand from him. I can invite him on the show and talk to him because I don't understand what's going on. What's so lucrative about Haiti? What do they bring to the Bahamas?
They don't bring. So they take.
They take out. So when they leave Haiti and come here, how long do they normally stay? Do they go back to Haiti?
No, I mean, some of them go. Some of them who get illustrated, they go back. They go back to make sure how the procedure they can carry what they carry down to the family and everything else. But just the breeding ground for them.
Yeah, and we've had some unsavory things happening, and the police ain't find out yet what went on. People carrying sacks of money, big money.
Professor, the people them right now, the Bahamian people, they are happy. Professor, you got to realize this, man. We can't blame we can blame the little piece of the Haitians, you know, because they get here and then they can maneuver around. But the Bahamians, the one who harboring them, who you think renting them apartments and giving them like selling job card to the house and all that.
No, that is the problem.
Professor?
That is the problem. I'm not disagreeing with that. That's the problem. So, now, who is responsible for the security of the country?
Yeah, it's the government.
Well, then that's the problem right there. The government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas has what? The Ministry of National Security, right?
But they can't find all of them. So it's us as the Bahamian people to cash them in. But they ain't cashing them in. They're using them. They're using them for work. Some of them, the men, them having babies. They having babies up with the men. But Professor, some of them young, some of them the girls, some come from Haiti. They look better. Some of them they look good now.
Yeah, but that's rotten flesh.
But the men, them food, they not happening right now.
Hold on, caller. That's rotten flesh. We shouldn't even participate in that kind of crap. Looking good on the outside and rotten on the inside.
That's correct, Professor.
So you don't fool around. See, this is why God had some strict laws relating to those kind of relationships when he told the Israelites, don't fool around with them foreign women. They're going to turn you away from me. That's what God said to Israel. They ain't listen to God. They talking about they want to have relations with these funny women. And Bahamians are doing the same crap.
But Professor,
Yeah.
but you think how the disease and then coming now?
Well, that's what you have.
Where you think the disease them coming around? Why you think all of these diseases ramping up and now? It was down a little bit the other day. Now it's ramping right back up again. They don't want that's where it's coming from, and they had it from the source.
They bring wickedness and sin on their bodies. They participate in things that are not godly. We have to face the harsh reality. So the Bahamian male falls victim to this foolishness.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen to a whole lot of people. I said, why the heck you fooling around with these funny women?
You don't know nothing with them. I talk when they know from the can of pink.
Exactly.
You don't know nothing with them, and they come in looking. That's like an old car. I see parked up there. Body
look pretty
like
on the outside.
The engine, then you can't get the engine running for nothing.
Running for nothing, but it's pretty.
When you can run down the road, you run off.
Yeah, run off.
So that's how it is. The true Professor,
yeah,
they
I
can't
agree
fool
with you.
me. I don't let them fool me, Professor. I don't care how good and beautiful you look, Professor. They can't fool me because I know what it is.
All that is
I
rotten.
had people been in a show before and they fool them.
Yeah.
I almost get fooled. It's a good thing I someone threw the rope down for me and put me down. But Professor, these boy, they ain't a fool me. I don't care much BBM
I have seen some who say they're Bahamian women have deceived and misled the Bahamian male. I got to speak to that one of these days, because I've known a lot of that happening. And Bahamian men, you gotta think, man. God gave you the ability to think, not to be a slave to a foreign female. What you doing that for? Not even to Bahamian female. But we just keep falling down on the ground. When trouble comes, these boys get in trouble. Daddy no way around. Where's Daddy? You just see either the mother or grandmother or aunt or grandaunt, and that's it. Where the man?
Yeah.
We are losing, and not cutting you off, Carl. We are losing too many men. And you see 4 just get killed this weekend. 3 on Saturday, and I think 1 on Sunday.
Yeah, I see that.
That's 4. Then 1 is seriously ill in the hospital because someone decided to, shot him up. Shot him up on his upper body. And he's seriously ill in the hospital.
Yeah, we losing them.
We're losing our males, and we're going to have problems with national insurance because we are losing our working population.
And then, like you say, the father, some of the fathers, them, they ain't trying to pull these guys them together. It's the father and the son sitting down in the backyard smoking weed.
Right. Do you know there's been a significant ruling by the Privy Council for the single fathers? And do you know up to this day they have done nothing with that ruling? It just sit right there. A very significant ruling for the single fathers of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, and what they do with it, nothing. They don't understand the significance of that.
But the thing with it, Professor, not to cut you off, but you got these mothers them doing it. These mothers them going through a lot too. Because I grew up and no father. My mother never made me feel like I needed my daddy. Like you know what I mean? But the good thing is I grew up where my uncle and cousin and brothers them and all of that used to beat me.
Yeah, okay.
But them days over with.
So the uncles they're not showing any interest in the fathers too.
Now. They ain't bothering these uncles them, and that ain't really bothering because the mothers them. See what you realize this now. When the uncles them back in the day make noise, the mommy them used to say turn up your hip.
Yeah.
But now the uncle go and try to deal with their nephews or grandnephews. The mother them won't jump in.
Yeah.
It's just a different way these women,
No, you're right about that. I've seen that happen.
These women, I mean, boy, they will fight with it. They will swear God, they child holy and moly. They swear God, they child, and they know the child, their son or daughter being out last night, and they can still lie to the law and say they owe their children still good.
Yeah, it's
They
unfortunate.
do the damage and coming. The guns them coming in. They know the gun in the house. They know the weed in the house.
Even the grandmother got the gun right in a clothes, and it
Yeah.
dropped out.
Even the grandmother know how to take down gun and hold and a shoot gun.
But this one, this grandmother, it dropped out in front of the police. I thought the police knew she had it,
Or,
but they had to take her in for arrested and put in custody.
but
I
see,
don't know what the
Professor,
end result was. I don't know.
but see, Professor, what I trying to get at, and we'll be trying to get at right now, is this. See, Professor, that's why the problem can't get fixed in the country.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of problems them with the current and with adding up to make it coming into these big problems, you know.
No, I agree. I agree with that
See,
100%.
that's the problem right now.
Yeah, you're
The
quite
kids,
right.
the daughter, the mommy them in when we rule the child them, they best friends, them and the daughters them and the son them going out drinking all night to the club. Everyone is friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know how long it take my mother there? Professor, my mother must have only heard me curse once. And that must see that wasn't even a big word.
Your mother's still alive, right?
No, my mother died
Oh, she
83 years
died.
old.
Oh,
5
okay.
years ago.
5 years ago. Okay, good. All right.
Professor, she never had me cursing nothing of that or carry on for hours, this and that and all that. You
Boy,
understand I come from?
yeah, I
But
understand you quite well.
these mothers them now, they turn them cursing some big woman I hear. So mother first.
Yeah.
Right in front of the mommy and the grandmother, because you gotta realize this. Some of the grandmother them, they're almost I guess as old as some of the grandmothers them. You gotta realize you get some young grandmothers some out now, you know.
Yeah, that's what they tell me. Yeah, I didn't even know that at first, but they said, Professor, this thing go deep.
Professor, when I know when my grandmother was my grandmother was old. These grandmothers them 40 something years old.
Yeah.
And almost 50, they stay grandmothers and that. So that means they still get screened, they still got party and they all in party and the grandmother,
Yes. And
the
the
daughter,
granddaughter.
and the baby or everyone out partying.
She,
This Professor, we have to really get into the in this urban place.
yes.
They have urban renewal and all the police and everything. They need a bond, Professor. What is it? It's a deep what's going on in this country right now for us to fix this. And we got a lot of these guys them right now. They just lost. I see it every day when I ride around in the Freetown areas and the certain areas, everything like these young guys them they just give up.
They give up, yeah.
They just give up. Only thing they do is go home. They go out, they get ready. The mommy make breakfast for them now. They make breakfast. They get it good. They make breakfast. Then they come. We go out all day. They ain't bringing nothing home. The mommy get food safe for them.
Yes.
They ain't bringing nothing home. So these parents, first I see what's going on. These parents, I'm getting showing them that's what it is. That's what is going on.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, that has to be fixed.
Yeah.
I heard the commissioner, this current commissioner, I think Madam Commissioner now, I can't remember what her name is. I don't want to call the wrong name, but Madam Commissioner said that she said that the young men have to learn how to settle their differences. Now, I heard her say that, the commissioner before her said that, and Greenslade said it. We have not yet seen, hold on, caller, don't go yet.
All right.
We have not yet seen where there's any hardcore evidence that these persons are settling their differences peacefully. Now, the commissioner said they ought to learn to settle it peacefully. I agree with that. But there has been no proof to show that they are. So what do we do then? Do we just keep saying they need to know how to settle it peacefully? Or are we going to get right down to the nitty-gritty? Because I've spoken to this on here, and I have to speak a little bit more on it today. Because the thing is, we have to deal with this, man. We're losing too many of our males. They're not getting as young as I am. I don't understand them. What's wrong with them?
Boy. But stop in the school, Professor. See, you got to realize that. You got to catch these young men and see they can know it. Professor, these people supposed to already know how to deal with this problem from, you got to catch them from small. How in the world you see the man, this young boy, giving the problems to the teacher all the time? This and that, y'all got to send him home. Mommy got to go all come together. Y'all need to take him out of the class and deal with him. He go in a different atmosphere.
Yeah.
See, but they letting them graduate. They letting them leave school almost a psycho.
Yeah, yeah.
You understand? So we have to be, Professor, everyone can't be no doctor and lawyer, man.
That is true.
But
Yeah.
they need to stop doing that. We need plenty farmers right now. We need
yeah,
some guys them ready more confidence and more machinery we buy them right now.
Yes.
When you see these guys, them don't learn, they but they're book smart. Let them use their hands, Professor. That's what I used to go to BTBI.
Another host was talking about the use of the coconut bark, not even the meat of the coconut now. The hard casing on the outside, the bark itself, you're not getting to the meat yet. And I understood, I have to get the information on it. Some 38 to 40 products could be made from the coconut bark. And a whole lot of coconuts in this island.
Yeah.
And all over the country. Plenty coconuts. I eat coconut all the time. So I tell people I'll never go hungry because I'll always have something to eat. But, yeah, go ahead.
What we can do with these set coming out of school now, this next couple of thousand coming out of school, because the other rest of them, from the following years, I mean, they still hanging up. Yeah. What we can do with these once in year, I mean, Professor, we could bring in the bomb see them and all that. Professor, all you see all the sun out right now, you know how much things we could grow in this. I do my little pepper and everything and all that. Yes. I do more, you know what I mean?
Yes.
We could grow year round.
Year round,
we could rock, they doing the little farming in school, you know. But see, they have to make it excited. See, you can't catch these gentlemen them when they can reach a certain age. They flying and far gone. You got to catch them and get them to love. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You grow, you eat what you grow.
Yes, that's true.
So you have to catch them and get them, man. You can't get them when they can smoke and dope and thing and almost all the school can ready think days, man, and everything and all that. I ain't gonna work like that.
Oh, you can't tell them nothing now. They really think this.
Professor, you can't tell some of these young man, Professor, when they look at some of them young man, when they look at me, I turn my head.
Yeah.
One time ago, I could look at them straight.
Yeah, you can't. You can't now because, you know, they give you a weird look, man. I don't know.
If the baby threatened me right now, I have to go report him to the police.
You got to report him, yeah.
You think I can let a baby, and the baby threatened me, little baby, well, 5-year-old, tell me, but he shoot me. Man, I can call again to the police to report him.
You got to report him.
I ain't slipping up.
No, you can't slip up.
Now.
No, you can't.
But we have to come together as a community. Everyone see Professor what's going on. Long as they child, they ain't checking. See, that's what happened until they hit the front of the door. See, that's what's going on, Professor. Now.
Okay.
The people see the guns them moving through out the yard. The next they looking through the window because you know they have any nosy neighbors.
Yeah.
They see the man carrying all the big soccer weed, this, that, and all that, but they ain't because they scared. We don't have no protection. They don't have nothing wrong, so you can't blame them, Professor.
Okay, I got to go to a break, but I really appreciate your contribution.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you very much. That caller made some good points. I'm going to have to comment on that. This is Professor Sidney McGard of Alton. Bahamians, we need some solutions. Please, this is May 7th. Let's get some solutions on the ground, man. Come on, Bahamians, we can't keep letting this thing break up like this. We're losing too many of our males. They're not getting as young as I am. I don't like that. This is Professor Sidney McGard of Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Tired of buffering, dropouts, and slow speeds? Then it's time to switch to a smarter solution. Introducing Starlink Internet Services, the fast, reliable, and affordable wireless connection that's changing the game across the Bahamas. And who do you call to get connected?
271 or 3260272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Bahamians, this is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of Bahamas. Don't mind the fact that we have these little problems, because every problem could be solved. Dr. Minnis had 35 seats. He could have solved every single problem in every single constituency and every national problem. I heard someone talking about complexity. Stop talking foolishness and nonsense. We have the Holy Bible and we have the Constitution. So when you hear them talk about how complex these problems are, that is utter rubbish and foolishness. What's so complex about crime? The fella commit murder. What's so complex about that? You punish him for committing murder. That's all. And the others would fear and hear. Because the Bible says, sentence against an evil work if not executed speedily. If you don't do it, Bahamians, the fellow go and commit one murder, he commit 2 murders, he commit 3 murders, you're talking about you giving him bail. So there's 3 dead people on the ground. Can we get justice like that? 3 different families, 3 different relatives murdered. How are they supposed to feel? You expect them to feel happy about that? Then you got to wait 8, 9 years, 10 years, and sometimes even more, before the case comes up. Come on, Bahamians. No wonder why it is set in the hearts of the sons of men to continue in wickedness and evil. Scripture supports that. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. You got to move on it right away. The same week it happened, you move on it right away. Push everything aside and deal with that right in that same week. And next week, you put him where he's supposed to go. You can't keep lingering these serious matters like that. That's a weakness in the judiciary. But God had remedy for that thousands of years ago. And then you out there who are looking to the government, you're looking to the judiciary for justice. Then they turn around and tell you don't take matters in their own hand. And they themselves ain't taking the matters seriously. So what you supposed to do, Bahamian? I want someone to tell me what I'm supposed to do. Because you can't keep the people waiting forever. 52 years is too long, Bahamians. 52 years? You know what kind of time that is? To just wait, because the government of Bahamas is failing you. You must wait another 52 years. Give me a break. We have too many problems. The caller who called last. And the lines are open. Let me open the lines because we expect to have a special program coming on soon. Something hopefully from the office of Prime Minister. So we're waiting for that. The thing is, Bahamians, we have to question our leaders. We have to put pressure on them because Bahamians, we got too many problems in this country now. Multiplicity of problems. No wonder why people get so much stress on their head. And then you're telling the fella, you must not take matters in his own hand. But he knows that, well, at least he believes, based on what he has available to him, I guess, that something untoward happened to him and his family. And he's waiting for the court to move on. And I heard one judge, this is another thing I just heard, just came to my head, about a particular police officer. How bad it would look him to wear an ankle bracelet. That is what his lawyer was arguing. And then the judge said, we let him report to the police station. What you mean it's going to look bad that he wear an ankle bracelet? You got all these other fellas wearing ankle bracelet. I don't know what good it's doing. But this is what the lawyer said. And I think the judge said, okay, let him report at a particular time. to the police. This case coming up in July. That's what I understand on the news. But Bahamas, you can't make bone of one and flesh of the other. What kind of nonsense is this? You're giving preferential treatment to a particular personality because of who he is or what kind of job. And I heard someone say these are professional, but them fellas, the police officer who was charged along with some other people, so they're professional people. So their case got pulled up, right? Ahead of some others who were there before. So they leapfrog over some cases because of who they are. What kind of crap is that? Now, if it's a national emergency, like a constitutional issue, I could see that. I could say, yes, let's go with it. But not because of some personal issue with a particular personality or particular personalities who've committed, well, let's put it this way, who would have been accused of committing criminal acts because they haven't yet been, quote unquote, convicted. But they say they got evidence on them. And then the caller who called last was talking about the people who see things happening, they see the fellas with that, and then people are scared because what kind of protection do they have when they give this information to police? And then you see the fellow you're talking on the other side, you know what he's all about. He may be doing artificial intelligence on you. And the Minister of National Security did make some statements on that, and I can listen to him. But see, I can also challenge his ministry. Supposed to be accurate and supposed to be reliable. Well, let's put him to the test and see whether they can tell you the full truth about what's going on. That's how you do it, Bahamians. So when I heard him say that, I say, yeah, I ain't got no problem with the artificial intelligence, what he said is happening, because artificial intelligence is fraud. When you impersonate someone, that's fraud. So we need to outlaw artificial intelligence. Because all you're doing is giving the police more work to do. You can't keep this foolishness going on. Police are human too, you know. They get tired, they get sleepy, they get weary. And don't shoot the police officers, okay? You know, sometimes some of them might kind of step out of line, but when I see that, I try to be as reasonable and calm as I possibly could be. I'm not saying they're better than anybody else, so don't misunderstand me. But when a police officer is injured, because you need them to get some things done. And they got information but I don't have. They got intelligence but I don't even issue some things with the benefit. I'm suggesting that you be a law-abiding citizen. But then if you're going to, could be, you know, a person not reputable. And I remember one time when I called 919, my phone got hooked into that and I couldn't even hang up. And I put the phone down, it kept ringing right back into the police station. So I was reluctant after a while when I got that happened on Mother's Day some 1 or 2 years ago. I was very disappointed because they didn't tell me yet what had happened. Then my 2 lines went down. I said, wait a minute now, I didn't call them on that one. But the 2 of them went down. And they were off for about a week, a little over a week, almost 2 weeks. And BDC has not told me yet what went down. Because I had called them because something was happening in my area, and I said, let me just call them. I call them since now. I mean, I didn't have that problem again, but I got through and some action was taken on some issues that I felt I need to call on. But how do you know the person on the other end, fine, honest police officer? How do you know that? Do you know or you know? How can you prove it? That's a telephone conversation, you know. It's a matter of trust. But you have to have people that you can work with. See, in my business, I got to work with people. I got no choice. So you have to ask God to help you to make wise decisions, babe. Some people out there are not the best. But the point is, we have some serious problems in the country. We've got to help to deal with these issues. We can't just leave it to the police. Although the police got all kind of information now. They got all kind of things at police headquarters. I just happen to live outside police headquarters. I don't know if that makes my area safer. I don't know. Because when they decide to block up Bay Street, and they have things on Bay Street, Police Street, they block up the 3 entrances into Portland Castle, and we can't get in. I don't know why they don't have some sense. Them people at the headquarters need to have some sense. You know, those people live in Portland Castle. Just give them a pass, they get through. Why is that so difficult? Because when I call the police, they say, oh, that's an easy fix. Ain't got fixed yet. You know how many weeks have passed since I spoke to that woman? So that's an easy fix. Yeah, it's an easy fix, all right. But they ain't got fixed yet. And you inconvenience the people in Fort Castle. They can't get to their homes, they can't get to their businesses because you're having something on Bay Street or something to police headquarters. Ain't nothing to do with them, but you're all having over there. But don't inconvenience law abiding citizens. Them people law abiding in Fort Castle. I can speak for them. Now, you may have some strangers, some foreigners, some aliens that might pass through or come into the area. We need to have immigration come up there and clean up that place. I got to call the director of immigration. Just shake up Fort Castle. Yes, we got some strangers in it. They ain't no Bahamian. Because they're not like Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. You ain't like Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter. I know you ain't no Bahamian. What kind of Bahamian you think you is? With your foreign self. Huh? Pretending to be a Bahamian. I get very upset when I have people pretending to be Bahamian. And I'm a genuine Bahamian. And they want to say they is Bahamian. They pull out one piece of fraudulent paper. Say they don't know paper, no Bahamian. So it is. Lines are open 3260271, 3260272, to go according to law. The Constitution is supreme law. Some of you might add that the country is a sovereign, democratic, independent state. Could be under God. Do we want to listen to God? To run this place had every available to solve every problem. Yet payments. They can't say they didn't have the numbers. The numbers were right there. The last time, 35 and 4. This time, 35 32 and 7. So you can't see the numbers were so tight that we only had a majority of one. You had a But the point is, if you allow them to just keep sitting and you tell them, boy, you're doing a good job, and the people suffering, and then you keep complaining all the time, but you do nothing about it. I spoke to some people I just saw the other day, and I said to them, I heard them talking, and I said,
in the
what are you going to
emergency
do about it?
in the gaps
Bahamians,
that
it
people ought to
doesn't
fill.
make any sense. Let me say this very clearly to you. It makes no sense talking under the tree, talking in your little room, talking around the table. I think we're going to go to the office, Prime Minister, or we have a call going out to the nation, and I think we're about to start.
Upholding
Go ahead, Mr.
prohibited
Producer.
by law. It's a constitutional right not to be subjected to, and our labor laws enforces that with what amounts to forced labor. And with the hurricane season approaching, I also welcomed Secretary Rubio's announcement and restoring the Bahamas standing as a leading trusted and responsible financial services to the Bahamas. The Bahamas has taken decisive action to restore the standing in our financial impact has been felt not only in boardrooms, but by everyday Bahamians to essential banking services. We have responded not with complaints. Made it clear in Washington, the Bahamas wants to work with the United States to build a global financial system and responsive. Our interests are not in conflict. We both want to stop illicit finance. We both want strong, well-regulated institutions, and we both want rules for countries out of the system. That is why we welcome the U.S. Treasury Secretary's willingness to engage on the issue of de-risking meeting gave us an important opportunity to describe for Secretary influence not to load to listen for future collaboration in areas like supervisory technology, financial integrity, and cross-border digital governance. And the Trump administration is moving rapidly to enter regulations and protocols for this space. And there will be collaboration between our regulatory team here and the US regulatory. We have been in it, and so that is recognized, and we're going to work together in respect to that. We also address the need for continued US support of the IMF, the World Bank, and the IDB. And once again, as a credible, reform-driven partner in the international system. We also raised the matter of OTEC, funding U.S. naval installation in Andros. While we value the strategic defense relationship between our two nations, we must also ensure benefit meaningfully from the economic leading that conversation personally. Finally, we turn to regional solutions that address security, governance, and long economic development. We believe there is a willingness through bilateral channels and multilateral mechanisms to build a more stable, secure future establishing the kinds of exchanges and relationships necessary for progress. The most serious challenges we face in the Bahamas are often not entirely of our own making. We cannot be observers only when it comes to international policy making that has an impact on issues. The world looks for voices of reason. We must be among them. Thank you, and may God continue. Yeah.
she announced visas offered many interruptions of it. Uh, uh, what really was discussed, whether I understood, I don't know how true. I think when it comes to problems that affect, cannot lump those problems in with other people's problems. We get left out in the cold. While Haiti has its problems, that's a Haitian problem. But then some people are saying that's a Caribbean problem. But our Bahamian problems are not Caribbean problems, they're Bahamian problems. So it's how people look affects us in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And I don't know what was done. I gotta get a full understanding of what went down. I couldn't make out much what was said on the tape. So I apologize, Bahamians, we didn't get a good rendering of that. But once we can get it cleared up, we would be able to play that in its full detail at another time, and we can go further in discussing it. But some problems peculiar to the Bahamas. And I get very upset when I hear people say what another nation is doing someplace else, like what's happening in France, what's happening in Peru, what's happening in the United States, what's happening, it was happening there, this one did, that one did. We're not looking at unique situations in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. For example, the bill has different problems in different parts of the constituency. I believe you have a call on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller, you there?
Yeah, good day, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, how are you?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was speech to the Prime Minister. And then they'll never know all the details from that NATO as really the whole. I guess like that's what we did. You didn't get to really hear all that he was saying. But
No, I didn't.
I heard the part taking care of Haiti.
I heard that too, but you
Man, how you be talking Haiti when you going to represent us?
had some delegation people here. Exactly what was supposed to discuss, I don't know, but they were talking about the situation with the Cuban nurses or doctors coming here.
Yeah.
I heard what the charge the affairs had said, and if the producer could find that tape, I would like for him to play that again. But the point is, she said some things. I never got to hear what the Secretary of State said on the issue.
Yeah.
So that part I don't know.
I think he said the other day, but at least from at least one of the things with that illegal immigration thing, the passports and stuff, you got to get all that stuff out of.
No.
You think he's Prime Minister would have done better? You see that? You see the state of that road, right?
Yeah.
The only thing is a matter of respect. And they come on that our neighbor, right? But the Chinese, in front of the Chinese embassy, pristine the road. But in front of the U.S. embassy, it's like it's being done. This is nonsense. Why are you saying that the government is allowed to have that embassy open? I mean, if they ain't got no government, they run by gangs. Why the embassy open?
That's a good question.
But why
Is it the same? They have lucrative flights going into Haiti. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
they two women were who the other one claimed who get $100,000 in the look of
Caller, I
human trafficking or whatever. Huh?
Caller, I have to cut it right here because we got to go back to the
Okay.
Prime Minister. But thank you for your contribution.
And such. But at this point, will the Bahamas make adjustments for certain insurance and money to keep workers received from their salary? You know, that was something I thought in the documents.
Yeah. But let's make it clear. The concept of the ingredients of forced labor have several factors. Sharing an employee's
And based on what he said at the last very end, I did not get the understanding that we got any concrete support for the migration of people to the Bahamas from Haiti and other places. I didn't get a clear understanding that we were getting any real support. See, here's how I see it, Bahamians. If we're going to have any discussion with the United States, we need to concentrate on problems that afflict the Bahamian people. That's point number one. Point number two, but when you look at the Bahamas, that's not a Caribbean problem. That's a Bahamas problem. They got to handle that themselves. But I didn't get anything what he said that there was some definite program or action being taken to assist us with the flood of illegal aliens. What about those who may have landed in the United States, who the president of that country is sending out? And I think they also talk about people who would voluntarily leave and they're going to pay them $1,000 and give them a plane ticket, but they have to leave first. So I don't know exactly how that will pan out for us in the Bahamas, because we have in this country, we're not having mass deportations. We have many in this country who are settling here. We have all these flights coming from Haiti. Bahamas there, bringing people in. We don't know how many are going back. And this is supposed to be a lucrative thing for Bahamas there. What does that actually mean? You don't have a functioning government in Haiti. You have to run the place. It's in turmoil. And according to the Caribbean, what they said some time ago, it should be a Haitian-led solution. Fine. I have no problem with that. They could take care of that. But it seems anytime when our leaders get together and talk with other Caribbean nations, we get left out in the water. Our issues are never coming to the forefront. I don't know, Mr. Bruce, if you might be able to find that, take what the Charge d'Affaires had said earlier. But I didn't get to hear what the Secretary of State specifically said. I don't know if he said if we can get a tape on some specific things that he said, we can play that on there and have a discussion on it. If you could find a Mr. Producer, that'd be fine. But if you could find the one for the Charge d'Affaires, what was said then, because from what I understood what was said back then, here is a statement that was sent out to all the nations. Now, see, when I heard that, I said, now, wait a minute now. What were you talking about? If you have a problem with the Bahamas dealing with Cuba, let's get specific. Let's get right to the point. What are you talking about? Because the Prime Minister is saying to us, there's no such thing as no forced labor. He draws an illustration to the contract, which was done when we were a colony. Right now, we're an independent nation. So then the Bahamas can make its own decision when dealing with other nations. Back then, we couldn't do nothing about it because the British were in charge. They were running things. Now we are on our own because we're a sovereign, independent state. We got to act that way. We ought to be that way. So I don't know whether the reference he made is really suitable for 2025. I don't think so. I don't know what you think about it, Bahamians, but I listened to it. How do you explain that now? Because obviously, we should be able to hear from the Prime Minister exactly and precisely what is the agreement with Cuba in relation to these people coming here to work. What is the specifics of the agreement? We have to get that, Bahamian, so we could have an intelligent discussion. But he referred to what was happening even before I came on the scene. What had happened to our mothers, no, maybe grandmothers or great grandmothers back then, and great grandfathers who were on the contract under the British government and worked in the United States picking fruits and them kind of thing. But we don't have that kind of arrangement today. We ought to know what are the terms of the agreement with the people of Cuba or with the government of Cuba. We can't go with bits and pieces. Either we're going to get all of it or none at all. Because you have to put it together, baby, so it could make sense. You can't get a little bit here and then you leave that one piece out and then you get a little piece down the road. Then you leave it till another little time. We get another. No, that's not good. Government of the Bahamas, the Republic of Cuba, as it relates to the doctors and the nurses working in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Then you compare the Constitution. The Constitution has a lot to say about labor. Then we will know. We can make our own determination. He is saying it's not forced labor. I can't accept it like that. I have to see what the agreement says. And then when I study the agreement, I can make a sensible decision, lining it up with the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Because in this country, we have had too many things that the government has signed on to, which are not constitutional. They violate. If these things are, well, let's put it this way, they ought to be available. And I think it would be good if the government would do that to make the thing plain so people understand. Like I said, all at the beginning, I don't know. We got to get a clear tape on that. We could play that and then we could have a discussion on it. But based on the question and answer that we heard, I did not get any clear understanding what this meeting was all about with the Secretary of State. I think it's Marco Rubio. I think that's the name of the person. But when we are dealing with other nations, and I don't know how the U.S. could get involved in a particular issue when a sovereign nation makes an agreement with another sovereign nation, and all of a sudden you get yourself involved in that. I don't understand that. I heard him say something about the U.S. base in Andros. I would be very much interested to hear what was all that all about. Because they've been there for some time. And there have been reports of some things happening. It doesn't seem as if any real investigation has been done by the authorities in this country. Are U.S. people allowed to just operate freely from that base, doing and acting as they please? No monitoring from the Royal Bahamas Police Force, no monitoring from the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. They just allow them to come in and do and act as they please. Is that what's happening at the base in Andros? We should not allow a foreign entity to come and set up shop in the Bahamas, and there's no oversight by the authorities in this country. Same thing with the SpaceX thing. Who is monitoring that? Now I hear that it was reported on the news that they put a halt to the SpaceX program. They haven't gotten some information. Who is monitoring it? Some things drop in the ocean. Who's doing the investigation? How is it being done? A whole lot of things have happened. They never. Now I heard them saying one report, they're going to have meetings with the Bahamian people. I mean, what are you saying? You don't start this crappy program. say they can have 20 landings. I think you had 1 or 2, if I'm not mistaken. Some problems developed. Now you're going to talk about you talking with the Bahamian people. We were not in on it in the first place. These are the bad decisions that the government of the Bahamas has been making for 52 years, Bahamians. The GIN project in Grand Bahama, Belly Up, the project in Maquana, Belly Up. Come on, Bahamians. Not just 2 that just come to my head, but some others. Where the government has signed on these, what they call heads of agreement. We don't know the heck what's in these heads of agreement. Are they constitutionally sound? Yes or no? We won't know unless we examine it. Now, I've said to you, for us to know whether something is constitutionally sound, we got to examine the whole document. The 2024 Act, the Electricity Act, that is available. I have a copy of that. I'm looking at that. The seabed is constitutionally sound. Some things they said in that act, they don't even do it themselves. The legislative branch of government has passed it, and the government of the Bahamas does not even go by what they pass in the House of Assembly. So this is the kind of predicament we're in, Bahamians. You have to monitor what is going on in your country. We're in some very serious times, Bahamians. You can't take nothing for granted. Now, we only could work with information that we have available to us. Now, all these other funny things, what they sign, and you don't know nothing about it. It's very difficult to deal with it. The SpaceX thing, what they got there. They signed agreement. They didn't consult with the Bahamian people. Now, there are some problems that all of a sudden they can have meetings with the Bahamian people, or a town meeting where there's 1, 2, 3, I don't know. We should be in on it from day one. Whether the Bahamian people agree with it, yes or no, that's where you have a referendum. But you know, these fellas don't like referendum, you know. This current administration does not like referendums. Because the man who is their Attorney General told them you can use ordinary legislation to bypass the Constitution. It is utter foolishness and nonsense. And no one who's supposed to know better, this is the problem. No one has yet told that man, stop talking foolishness and nonsense. But this is the kind of bad advice the Attorney General has given the government of Bahamas, and no one has done nothing about it. Everybody just sit and just let the crap pass. I have maybe been the only one who publicly went on here, as I've done several times, because I've checked the Constitution. If you're not constitutionally sound, you create problems. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. Mr. Bruce, I'm not hearing any music. I don't know if we're going to a break. We don't have a... Oh, okay, all right, okay. I just wanted to be sure. Bahamians, listen, see? When it comes to issues that affect the Bahamas, we can't mix it up with the Caribbean. Because we've been getting left out in the cold every single time. Now, my understanding is there were some other people up there, say they from other nations, meeting with the man at the same time. You know, he can remember everything. So your agenda gets left out in the cold. I hear the music now. This is Professor Sidney McArthur, Walter Thompson. The line's open. Bahamians, help me with this now. I can't handle this by myself. 813-0271, 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Keep the Bible Live Music Group present the legends of Ray Can Spray. Get ready for the
Storm. All getting underway tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on Global 99.5. I'm Letty Greer for the Christ.
From Cable Beats to Montague, it's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And Bahamas, let's make sure that we stick with our Constitution, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We got tremendous privileges and our freedoms. We have to use them wisely. We do apologize to you, the listening audience, and the viewing audience for the interruption with the thing we tried to get from the Prime Minister's office. We do apologize for that. We thought it was important that you should be able to hear that. Anytime the Prime Minister is speaking, I want to hear that. And it happened right during the time I'm on air. So, we just felt that would be the best thing to do. But sometimes this technology, I guess you have some problems that develop with it. And so we just have to keep working at it until we can get it improved. But we do apologize for the interruption. We couldn't give you the full strength of it. We got a little bit with the questioning, but the first part of it, when we get it, we would be able to play it fully so you can hear it at some point in the future, not too far away, hopefully. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. And Bahamians, anytime when the Prime Minister represents the Bahamas, you should support him. Now, some of you have said to me that you will not support the Prime Minister because you think he was violating the Constitution. The government has violated the Constitution, has been doing so for 52 years. That's a fact of life. But when he stands up, as he went over to Washington, I think I got the understanding that there were some other Caribbean leaders who were there at that meeting. But I got from the office of the Prime Minister where they told us, because we played it right here on this radio station, that the Prime Minister is going there to speak on some issues affecting the Bahamas. All right? And particularly, he mentioned the issue about the Cuban government and the fact that the U.S. is looking at it as if it's forced labor. But then to charge the affairs, when she spoke, she said this letter was sent out to everybody all around the world. I said, wait a minute now, you put a different twist to it. If the U.S. government has some difficulty with what we are doing, our relationship with Cuba, I don't know how they got into it anyhow. I think the government needs to explain that to us. The government of the Bahamas ought to explain, give us a clear understanding of what the agreement is between the government of the Bahamas and the government of the Republic of Cuba in relation to the doctors and the nurses working in the Bahamas. Now, we can get detailed information from start to finish. Then I can go through that with a fine-tooth comb and let you know that it's constitutionally sound. But I ain't got the thing. I got to ask them for that. We want to know what that agreement is, what they signed with Haiti. Talking about they sending our men and women to help them people in Haiti. But we got to see what the agreement is. When you examine the agreement from top to bottom, then you are able to see whether it is constitutional. Now, you all got to know the Constitution. That's point number one. Because even when you still don't know whether it's constitutionally sound or not. Now, I'm one of those who know the Constitution. And I'm not bragging about that because I want you people to know it just as well as I do, or even better. It takes you some time to get there, and I might as well tell you that. Because knowing the Constitution is hard work, man. You think it's easy? You see how they have the language written? It is written in language that the average person, even when they read it, they go, just put it on the side. You see how long it's been up there on the internet and people still don't understand the document? Maybe we need to change the way they write these laws, Bahamians. Take all this legal stuff out of it and put it in simple language so people could get a better understanding of it. Well, that's why you're Professor Sidney Thompson. I could strip all the legal jargon from the law and put it in simple, basic, fundamental language. If they were to write the law simply like that, then you won't have all this confusion. Wouldn't it be better if we help the people to understand what the law says rather than talking bits and pieces? And there's no clarity. We need clarity from the government of the Bahamas. I can take the Minister of National Security up on what he said, you know. He said, make sure you get it from them so you can get accurate information. And you ain't got to have that AI crap, artificial intelligence, like how they try to impersonate the prime minister. Because I heard a little piece of it. I said, no, 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 that ain't the prime minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It ain't sound like it. But then some people thought it was him. Now we have some clips on him. Ain't no AI on that one. We know that's him. The lines are open 3260271, 3260272, 813-027. I like to talk with the prime minister, you know. When he says something, I put my ears up and I want to hear that. Or he writes something, boy, put that out. I want to go through that with a fine-tooth comb. That's the way you're supposed to do it, baby. So the man can't come and say, well, somebody is talking bad about him or giving out misinformation. So when I hear something coming out of the office of the prime minister, I say, did he actually say it? Yes or no? Or somebody is writing something from that office. And then the prime minister could come out and say they misunderstood what was supposed to be. But that shouldn't be at all. So once we get him, his voice saying it, then I could say, hey, now that's him. But if some purporting to write for him, then that's a different kettle of fish altogether. The problem in our country is when there's misinformation going out from any office, whether it's office of prime minister or any other ministry, you may find that the minister might come back and say, no, it doesn't go that way. This some error was made or some mistake. That's fine. I got no problem with that. But when you fail to admit when you're wrong, the information is so off, bigger than Christ Church Cathedral, and yet you're still saying you ain't doing nothing wrong. Now, I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem with that, Bahamians. If you have people who have such a stubborn spirit in them, and they will tell you they ain't doing nothing wrong. They never admit to doing anything wrong. Now, they ain't perfect. You know, human beings are not perfect. Even Professor Thompson is not perfect. Now, I'm waiting to get perfect now. I ain't reached there yet. I can let you all know when I reach there. But I ain't there yet. So I got to be careful about the source that I would get information from. And if it isn't credible, then I won't use it. I'll question it, check it out. Like the Minister of National Security says, check it out. Don't just rush into it like that. So sometimes people bring information to me and I say, well, where did you get it from? They may have heard someone say something or someone may have written something. But I say, what's the source of the information? Is it credible? Because you just can't say any and everything that's from some source out there, and it may not be a credible source. It cannot be clearly identified. So I just move away from things like that. Now, if the source is credible, I can quote it, and I can say, yes, I got it from whoever. And then people don't have to be confused. Now, sometimes from sources that may be credible, they might give out information which they thought to be correct, and then come to find out later on it was not on target. That's a different situation. I don't think they deliberately, because basically you were going by what you thought was the correct information on that particular matter. Not that someone deliberately and intentionally say something. That's a whole loss of a different color. So you could have, this is why I always say when I hear certain things being said or written, the information is misleading. Or the information is not constitutionally sound. The information is inaccurate. I won't say that the people are saying something as a certain word I can't use on there, so I won't use that word. But the point is, we have to be objective. What we say, we have to be upfront and try to be. That source, what I had at the time, was not on target. So, mistakes can happen. But I'm not talking about people who deliberately and intentionally not accurate and precise. That's a whole loss of a different color. But if we can be helped today, a lot of Bahamians, a lot of people be able to read as maybe like how I would do. That's part of the business, part of the job. And you got to sit and read and analyze and study and get accurate information so when you go on it, and there are others that have be as you possibly can be based on the sources that you have available to you. Now, two sources that are never wrong. The Holy Bible is never wrong. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas is never wrong. So I offer no apology to nobody when I quote them too. I'll tell you that right off the top. They are always right. They are never, ever wrong. I don't know if you heard that from anybody else, but you heard from Professor Sidney Thompson. The Bahamas Constitution, the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas. That's what you look at when it comes to any other law, any kind of agreement the government has signed. You look at it in light of the Constitution. So once I get that agreement from the Bahamas government, do we have a caller? Caller on the air? Oh, we have a call on the line. Oh, I didn't get that. Caller, you live on air. My apologies. Caller, you live on air.
No problem.
Oh, I'm sorry, but
It's okay. Good afternoon, Professor.
yeah, good afternoon. How are you?
I am well.
Okay.
I want to raise a few things. First one being, the Prime Minister this week, it was in the newspaper,
Yes, ma'am.
said that he had signed some type of agreement with a foreign company to manage our seabed.
Yes. I am glad you mentioned that.
Couple thousand square miles.
Yeah, you said that, yes.
Now, my question is this. If that resources belong to the Bahamian people,
Yes, it does.
now he signed this agreement. He didn't even have the decency to come and hold some type of meeting with the Bahamian people before he signed onto this agreement.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I don't even know that the Prime Minister is clear on the value of our natural resources.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, because he now seems like he's coming very late to the table on this. This man has been in Parliament for some 20-something years.
Yes, ma'am.
They know we have had natural resources all of these years and even before. And only within now the last 5 years, maybe, you've been hearing about natural resources.
Yes, ma'am.
First, they said we didn't have it.
Yeah, former Prime
It held
Minister
no
said that.
value if we did have.
Yes.
And now here goes agreement with a foreign company. And when you really care about this agreement, the Bahamian people own what, 45%? And he said we'll get 80% of the profit. Now, if that's ours, why do we own 45%?
That's an interesting
That's ours
question.
100%.
Yes.
you know.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
have you heard any MP on the PLP side or the FNM side
Yes, ma'am.
speak out on this?
No, I haven't. No. None whatsoever.
Professor, we have no independent voices in Parliament. It's a go along to get along Parliament that we have on both sides.
But that is very dangerous.
And that's our system.
Yes, ma'am.
That's where we've been doing it. Now, I know we're going to have a government in the country.
Yes, ma'am.
But these persons that are there now, personally, I don't believe any of them should be reelected.
Okay.
Now, we're going to have to take a chance with somebody who's not been there.
That is true.
Are we going to know who is a homosexual? Are we going to know who is 100% a Christian? No, we're not going to know that. No matter how much we try to vet them. They will tell us yes, as others have done in the past. But we're gonna need a government and a parliament.
That is why you need to
Now-
deal. But Carla, let me just stop you this moment because you brought up some good
Okay.
point. We have to have the knowledge of God if we're going to have the kind of government that's going to help us. God is very specific and very clear about character. You can know in advance who you're dealing with. Are we prepared for that? Are we prepared to dig deep? You don't have to take any word what they say. There's a way to find out about a particular personality or personalities. There's always a way to deal with that.
Professor, I will say this. I am a person of good character. Always have been. But again, I can get in Parliament and become something totally different. You understand? We have to take a shot with somebody. We have no independent voices in the country.
No, we don't.
We
In
have
Parliament.
had this hate problem for years.
Yes,
Have
ma'am.
you heard of any MP who stand up and say anything about deportation
Not in
or
recent
our
times.
passports have been issued?
No.
I was hoping the Prime Minister would have told Mr. Rubio that his government are giving out illegal documents. But he didn't have the guts to do that,
Yes, ma'am.
you know. So I'm very disappointed in Parliament
Yes, ma'am.
and the MPs that are in there. You hear Mr. Pintard scream and holler about what he's going to do
Yeah, but that's not going to
as
cut
if
it.
he's never been there.
He's been there under Mr. Dr.
He's
Minnis.
been there all of these years.
Yes, 35 seats. I
And
mean,
then
how
we
many?
talk of good character. Haiti is on fire. Our embassy is open down there.
Right. And we have Bahamas there
2 or 3
bringing
times
people
a
in.
week.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, what are we doing?
In Haiti.
Why are we there? And every time he opens his mouth, it's Haiti. You have gone to the States to talk about the Bahamas. Our issues are not being raised. He's
No.
raising Haitian issues.
Yes, ma'am.
Haiti's a different country.
Totally different.
Let them work on their problem themselves. And we want deportation starting up.
Yes.
This guy who had a Bahamian passport gotten by fraud, they
Yes.
charged him $5,000. And now what happens to him? Are they deporting these people when they find this out?
That's a good question.
A Haitian man raped a Bahamian girl the other day. He was given a year in jail, and she has to deal with that for the rest of her life.
For life, yes.
What is our judicial system doing?
Yes, ma'am. You raised some good points, caller, and this is where we need. I've been saying to the Bahamian people, we need to be organized on the ground to deal with these issues. Because we
Professor,
cannot.
I don't know, in your constituency, if you had any major national affairs solved in your area?
In my area, it's in Centerville? No. There have been no major constituency problems solved in Centerville. We got some new problems. We got some new problems right in Fort Fincastle.
Well, in East Grand Bahama, we haven't had any either.
Okay.
So I'm in the same position that you're in.
No, I agree with you. That is why I'm trying to get the people to ask the question. You ain't got to ask these fellows who are there now, because you could see what they have done or what they have not done. So you ain't got to ask them nothing. All you do is get rid of them. The point is, you have to know who you're dealing with when it comes to your national affairs. See, if we go by what God tells us in his word, how to identify them, because there's a clear-cut thing God says about what happens if you have certain people in power. What happens if you have another set of people in power? It's the character element. There's a way to find out, ma'am. Now, I'm not saying you should not look at alternatives, because someone told me, to me, we have to be very specific when it comes to alternatives. Because some people were thinking it's just this party versus that party. The Constitution allows for political parties. I'm not talking about political parties. I'm talking about the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. The very people you send to the House of Assembly, the very people you put in the Senate, the very people you put in the cabinet. That's the government right there. They're the ones who control things. The judiciary, that's a separate branch of government. But we have to watch what the judiciary is doing too. Because
yes.
So, see, the thing is, if the Bahamian people are not willing to answer those two basic questions, major constituency problems that have been solved over the last 52 years in the constituency we live, none in Centerville.
But Professor, we have answered those. There hasn't been anything.
I haven't had anyone.
I would say this.
Okay.
I would say this, Professor, just before we go.
Yes, ma'am.
Any MP in that parliament can table a bill.
Of course they can.
Any of them, if they were independent enough.
But they can do it now.
But none of them would do it.
Because being a member...
The Prime Minister speaks for all PLP. Pintard speaks for all FNM. They're not independent thinkers.
Okay.
They're not trying to solve problems. That's why we need to vote them out.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much. I think I have to continue
I'll
this
call
tomorrow.
you back tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I'm happy that she called in and presented. I'm going to have to expand on this tomorrow. Tomorrow is what? Thursday? Yeah, I have to do it tomorrow because this is very, very important. We have to face what we have to handle. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Thank you for participating. Have a pleasant afternoon and be safe, Bahamians. Let's pray to God to help us in this crisis. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Have a pleasant afternoon.
This is Global Radio 99.5.